Welcome back. It's another episode of Dim Sumdays with my favorite co-host, Amanda, and I'm Connor. Thank you for joining us once again here in our car for breakfast, dim sum, and a silly conversation with the Caysons. Is dim sum breakfast?
No.
Well, it's all fist,
well,
right? It's breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
But if you're Asian, you got to go to the good dim sum spots at like 10:30. Otherwise, you're just going to be waiting out the yin yang.
So it is brunch.
It's Asian brunch.
It's Asian brunch.
Mm-hmm.
And the popularity keeps growing, just like brunch has.
It's so good.
Yeah.
I wish more food was catered around on little carts, and then I can just pick and choose what I want as little bites instead of like having to order one thing off the menu. Maybe I want one pancake, one waffle, and a French toast. I don't know.
Yeah, a dim sum brunch, like American style brunch, would be really interesting. Be very interesting. Can you break these chopsticks like we talked about in that one show?
No, I tried really hard.
Yeah, we tried to break them from here. That was like in episode 1.
I think that TikTok is a lie.
It's a lie. It's a lie. Like many TikToks.
Not everything on the internet is true, contrary to popular belief.
I am the way your son don't need
All right, well, today we're on the east side. We are in Bellevue. Well, we're in Victoria. And where are we eating at today?
We're eating at a restaurant called Top Gun. I was trying to think of the famous Top Gun song to sing before I introduced the restaurant Top Gun, but I have no idea what that is off the top of my brain right this very second.
So why Top Gun?
Top Gun is the dim sum restaurant in Bellevue that I grew up with. So this is where my family and I would go. This is where we met all of our family friends. This is like the first dim sum place I took Connor to. So yeah, it's just very nostalgic for me. And it's still good. I think it's still good. So,
well, we will determine if it's still good in pandemic eating in our car times.
You mean in a Patricia?
In a Patricia, yes. All right, well, Top Gun. We ordered online on our phone. They have dine-in open now, so there's a decent amount of people that were in there.
Yeah.
They said that our food was going to be ready at 1:07. It was ready at 1:37. So, yeah, give and take what you're going to do with that. They never texted you, did they?
No, you can order ahead. You can say, like, I want to pick this up as soon as possible, or I'd like to pick this up at the hour or every half hour.
But I don't think that guarantees what time it's going to pick up. It's very dim summy.
They'll do it when they get to it.
When they get to it. All right, well, let's start with our first item before we go in today's topics.
Well,
what is the lucky choice?
I'm already going to start off with some hot cow.
Amanda's
Are you
favorite.
surprised? I'm not. Well, these ones you have to eat first because otherwise, like, if you wait, then the noodle kind of gets a little gummy.
Yes. All right, we're seeing these all. They're different every time. These ones seem like they're filled. They're not all loose. They're not all falling apart. They look like the shrimp are rather large. I think the size of the shrimp inside also says a lot about the different ones. Is your favorite?
It's not a one-biter.
Yes,
Regrets were made.
For one biting out.
It's so good.
Mm-hmm. Very tasty.
I will say that I do appreciate, I like the Dim Sum King poppable hot cow. This one's like a 2-biter hot cow. Dim Sum King is like a shrimp popcorn. You just kind of pop it in there. But these ones are definitely like 2-biters.
Yes. All right, let's get into the first topic of the week. It is the first week of March 2021.
What? What do you mean? This is March day 364.
No, not 364. There's
373.
375.
Math is really
March
hard.
375th is here, and
it's wild. It's wild to compare where we were March 2020 to March 2021.
Yeah. So
Like-
what were some of the things you were doing 365 days ago that you're no longer doing now?
Well, I'll tell you right now, a year ago, as of yesterday, I caught a meerkat in Bangkok. And those are words that I never thought I would say.
You did catch a meerkat in Bangkok.
The obvious difference is that we had flown to Asia March 2nd or March 3rd last year to go to our wedding. So we went early to finish up wedding planning, dork around and eat around Bangkok and just kind of like get excited for this this destination wedding. And we were on this, but it was also chaotic, right? Because it's kind of like the first introduction of like COVID has hit Seattle and COVID this and COVID that. So I remember right before we left for our wedding, we had to like scramble to find masks of any type to wear on the plane because it was mandatory.
And at that time we were searching out N95 masks because the masks obviously weren't a thing here in America.
Well, you
yet.
for sure could not find a medical mask. So we were like, okay, the only choice that we have is we can like paper clip one together with some spare cloth that we may or may not have. Or we could go to like a Home Depot or Lowe's store.
Well, all those videos weren't even out yet. Like making your mask at home was not.
It wasn't even a thing.
Masks weren't a thing. Nobody in America was thinking about a mask. There were people starting to hoard the N95s.
You could do this. This is
no one
as
was
much
doing
as
that,
we
though.
had.
Right. There's just like the whole mask wasn't a concept here. So we happened to be up in like Tulalip, and we walked into a Home Depot there, and we happened to find N95 masks, which were in like the painting section for all the painters. And so, it was just a very different thing. And we went to Asia, and that was the introduction to coronavirus for us and for many of our friends who traveled to Asia in March last year, which was just a crazy thing to do. It's
But
wild to look at it now.
The interesting part about this is that you go over to Thailand, and first off, there was like already starting to begin of like mass hysteria here. You go over to Thailand, and it was like normal. Like everyone was kind of doing their thing and wearing masks, and it's just so much more ingrained in the culture to wear masks. So it wasn't a heavy change. But here it was kind of like we're not sure. Mask is not in our culture to wear normally, and it was just very different. It was very different.
Yeah, when we went to Asia, it was definitely like this culture shock of like, whoa, everybody is wearing a mask, and that's when we learned, oh, we're not wearing a mask for ourselves, because when we bought these N95 masks, we just thought it was to protect us, and very quickly when we got to Asia, it was like, oh, everyone's wearing a mask to protect the community and not necessarily just to protect themselves. And that kind of changed our whole perspective on the mask things for when we came back. But, it's interesting. We went to a Sounders game on leap year. Mm-hmm. And that was the last Sounders game, so we haven't been to a game in a year.
Yeah.
And, hung out with all of our friends. We have these photos of, like, hanging out with people, and it's crazy that we don't have that anymore. And the world will never be the same.
Yeah, it's just very different looking back of kind of everything that we were going through, and adding you deal with like new COVID stress and like not understanding and like not sure, like it was just so new, and then you add like wedding hysteria on top of it, and it's a whole thing. I'm doing next. These are called, on the menu they were called puffy taro. I don't know what the actual name for these are. I just know them as like crunchy taro bites.
Crunchy taro bites.
But
those are
so
anything but a bite.
One thing real quick is I wish they made, you know how in the car they have those like air vent sauce dipping trays? Do you know what I'm talking about? You clip this thing into your air vent and you can put your chicken nugget dipping sauce in it. I wish they had something like that, but for chopsticks.
For chopsticks?
Yeah, because instead I had to maneuver this as my chopstick holder.
No, I mean, I don't think that's very needed. Like,
it's needed for me.
You just put it in the plate.
I feel more comfortable now in COVID and COVID procedures, and I feel like I understand. Obviously, there's been more research about COVID itself and how to take care of yourself if you've been exposed and blah, 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 and we have a vaccine, so I definitely feel way more comfortable dealing with the stress. A year later.
We all have to be comfortable. I know we were talking about it last night about how April last year was like the longest month because the shutdown happened, and everyone's like, all right, it's 2 weeks, we'll all stay inside, We'll do our 2-week thing, and then we'll all go back to normal. It'll all be fine. And then by the time we all got to April, it was like, oh, this isn't going to be a 2-week thing. It was like, oh, maybe it'll be just another 4-month thing, or maybe by this summer it'll be okay. And April last year was just a wild, uncertain time.
What's interesting too is I remember having conversations with a couple of girlfriends that were planning their wedding for fall, and we're like, no, it's gonna be totally okay. Like, things are gonna be under control. And obviously things were still kind of crazy. So, now they're planning their wedding for this fall. And it just kind of is like, gosh, looking back, it was just like, no, fall is so far away. Like, you'll have plenty of time and, have to reschedule.
All right. So what we're going to talk about next is a movie review. Right? Well, how about you talk about this? Because this is the topic you want to talk about.
So, one of my best friends celebrated her 30th birthday. Happy birthday, Rachel. And her fiance organized a garage movie theater. So what we did is we went over to their home, and they had their garage lifted, the door lifted, and he put a projector up against a blank white wall, and we all sat socially distant. And again, we had like the garage door open, so it was free-flowing air. And we watched a movie, and it was so cool. And I don't understand why we haven't done that. It just is like, well, obviously they just recently moved, so we didn't have that space before. But now that we do, it's like, this is so smart of a nice way to enjoy time with your friends and be able to go just do an activity rather than like go sit in a park and just eat, right? So it was very nice. It was great to be able to watch a movie. We watched Guns Akimbo with Daniel Radcliffe. Her and I are like Daniel Radcliffe people. And that was, first off, a way interesting movie.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. I don't even think we need to add time to the show talking about that movie. Let's talk about the real movie that we want to talk about today.
Oh, yeah.
So what's that movie?
The movie that I love is...
You love it?
I love it. Raya and the Last Dragon. And the reason this is important is because it is so cool to have a Southeast Asian, the first Southeast Asian princess. And it's great to have that representation in the Disney animation world, right? But I feel like there's always lots of representation for
white people.
For white people, but there's never a lot for Southeast Asian, right? The closest thing we had was Mulan, which, by the way, banger, right? Like, such
original
Mulan. Original Mulan.
But what Disney princess did you grow up admiring?
I grew up admiring Princess Jasmine. It's so cute. I have like the giant wig and everything. But that's the closest princess I had, right? It was like, that's what I grew up with, and that's what I idolized, and I loved it. I was like Princess Jasmine for like 4 years running in just straight in a row. But it's great to have Raya and be able to see like things that I culturally identify with, and architecture that is meaningful, and just it was great. I loved it. And yeah. I have a Naga tattoo on my arm, and the Naga is like a very important mythological creature in Thai culture. You'll see oftentimes when you go into like a Thai temple, there's Nagas that are protecting the gates or protecting the entrance of said temple. A Naga is a river. In Thai culture, a Naga is like a river protector, a river dragon, if you will.
And so I remember when we saw the preview, it was really exciting, right? We saw it sometime during the pandemic, like, oh, look at this movie, and it's based off Southeastern Asian cultures, Thai, Cambodian, Laotian, Vietnamese, Malaysian,
all of them.
And we're really excited. So you got to buy it on Disney Plus for an extra $30 if you have a Disney Plus subscription. Obviously, to support the cause, we got it on the first night and we watched it. Mm-hmm. It was cool for me to watch. You reacted extremely emotionally to the whole thing, just to see the representation. But it was really cool. There were so many little like Thai details that you could see that I'm so much more familiar with now, just being with you, going to Thailand a bunch of times. And from the architecture, like, right, all the buildings and the roofs on all the buildings and all the doors they walk through, all the floors, like all of that, those little details are really nice. And there was like a scene where Raya was with her father, who she called Ba, which Ba isn't, at least in Thai, it's not
Ba is
dad.
father in Chinese, but Pa is Thai
It's Thai.
for father.
So, and I guess they made up some of their own words for the show, right?
Yes, so they have like Depla in the movie is like best friend, which I think actually it's not just for the movie. I think I read an article that it's Vietnamese for like beautiful something. So it's like taken its origination from actual languages.
Yeah.
Whether it's an actual slang term, I'm not sure. If you know, put it in the comments. Let me know.
But yeah, there was a scene where the father and Raya, Ba and Raya, were wearing like traditional Thai clothes, and they're similar to like the clothes that we wore in our wedding, right? Like they have these what we call MC Hammer pants. They're kind of like big and puffy, but don't go all the way down to your ankles. And you could just see it in the clothing. I was like, oh yeah, they definitely invested some time in what's the appropriate clothing. And I know there was one scene where Raya and her father get down on their knees to pray to what do
Their
they pray
deity.
to their deity, and
Sisu.
to Sisu, which is the dragon, the Naga, and yeah, you kind of like lost it at that moment. I feel like you felt like you saw yourself in the movie.
Yeah, it's something that you don't. I don't culturally identify with like other parts of other Disney movies, right? It may be great for other cultures, but for me, it was like, oh, that's cool. For this, it's like, I know what that means. I know the significance of that moment. And so that was really important. One thing that I want to point out, I'm going to cry just thinking about it. I'm such a crybaby. But I'm thinking when they were on the boat and they put the lotus flowers in the water to honor their ancestors, I was like bawling. You can ask Connor. I was like losing my mind crying just because it was like, oh, it was so sweet. It was so sentimental. It's like how we honor our ancestors.
Yeah.
So
I got one quarrel with the movie though. It was cute. It was good. But the Naga Sisu, or the dragon, it was just like, if you look at Amanda's tattoo or you see any of the Nagas that are all over Asia, or at least Southeast Asia, they are dragons like with scales, right? They're water dragons. And Sisu was more like a My Little Pony dragon than a Jurassic Park dragon, right? Like, I was looking way more for like fierce creature with scales, shining gold, right, with like bright red eyes, because that's kind of like what I've seen in all of the statues. But they clearly made Sisu like they want to make her a plush toy, and so it was just kind of like, it's not the Naga that I imagined.
did anyone else instantly think of that moment with Eddie Murphy as a dragon where he goes,
Dragon, not lizard. I don't do that tongue thing.
that just, I don't know why that cracked me up just inside. While you were talking about it, I was like, dragon.
All right, Amanda, what do we eat next?
We are eating, see, look, if I had a chopstick holder, it would be great. We're eating,
Ooh, what are those?
these are crispy shrimp on sugar cane.
On sugar cane?
Yeah, so that's what these things are. These are sugar canes.
Whoa, that's kind of crazy.
They're super tasty. I don't know what this sauce is.
So do I eat it like a chicken wing with like my fingers?
Chicken wing, hot dog and bologna.
So do I eat it like this or what?
Yeah, you can eat it like that. There's no rules.
Amanda likes to sing these songs. I don't think that translates very well to a podcast. But we will see. Are you going to put the hot sauce on it?
No, I don't know if it's
Is
hot
that hot
sauce
sauce or
I think
sweet
it's-
sauce?
Here, let me lick it. Both! It's sweet and sour sauce. Okay. Uh-oh. Where's your plate? You had a plate for a reason.
I did have a plate for a reason.
I gotta get my car detailed after this show.
All right, let's try it.
I'm just gonna put it on your plate.
And what a surprise, because Amanda loves shrimp. It's just a deep fried shrimp bowl.
Why is shrimp so good? I would be so sad if I was allergic to shrimp, but my uncle's allergic to shrimp. He seems to be living his life.
I'm not really sure what's going on with this sugar cane, like what it's adding to it. But yeah, that's all right.
This is one of my sister's favorite.
All right, so something else that happened this week was the season finale of WandaVision. It's all over. Lived up to all the hype. Started slow. Ended with a bang. You have any things you want to say about WandaVision for the ledger of history?
I loved it. I loved every moment of it. I think I stated in the first episode, but the first episode was weird of WandaVision, but the second episode is when we start getting to like these deep conspiracies. And so it just was everything I wanted. And the director had mentioned something of like, because he watched all of the conspiracy theory videos on YouTube, he was like, I'm worried that fans are going to be disappointed. But I think the whole purpose of WandaVision was to open up a chapter and really talk about Wanda's grief. And also lead into the upcoming series or movies or whatever that also occur in Marvel. So I think it was just to further the MCU agenda.
Yeah.
And so I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. I love Catherine Hahn. I think she's just a national treasure. And she killed Agatha.
Yeah.
It was Agatha all along.
Yeah, I thought it was good. It definitely opened up the door for this next generation of Marvel content that's going to come out. Because after Endgame, it was like, is it over? What are we going to do? But they certainly opened up that door, and now it's a lot more clear of what's going to happen next. I'm really excited for it.
Me too.
There's a new show that starts this week, so I'm sure we'll touch base on that later this week. All right. Last primary topic of the day. Staple of Dim Sumdays.
Spare ribs.
Spare ribs. These look delicious.
Yeah, they actually put peppers in. I like this version.
They smell spicy.
Yeah, it feels like they've got a little bit more kick.
All right, so now it's time for the segment, everyone's favorite segment, Shit My Mom Says. What quote do you have from your parents this week, Amanda?
So Connor and I have been trading show recommendations and movie recommendations with my parents, and because they're watching and crushing just as much content as both of us. So they recommended a show called Money Heist. But Money Heist is originally a Spanish show called La Casa de Papel. And so, obviously, it's all done in Spanish. And we have to put the captions on. I have to put the captions on. I am not fluent in Spanish, so I have to read. And Connor also has to read, even though he likes to say he can speak Spanish. Okay, I'm so glad he's eating these spare ribs off camera, because it is not easy. It does not look easy.
No, I'm not.
That
really
was not pretty.
Mm-mm.
You don't want to watch that. So, anyway, so we traded this show recommendation, and I'm telling my dad, I was updating him on which episode we were on in La Casa de Papel. And we were talking about having the captions on. And my dad was just like, yeah, we have to have the captions on because, I can read and pay attention, but Mom can only read or watch. She can't do both at the same time. And if Mom doesn't have her glasses on, she can't do either. What a savage read, Albert. That's so funny. And you can hear my mom going in the background, just like smacking him, going, hey, hey. But it's true. She doesn't have her glasses on. You know, all bets aside, she can make up her own narrative on what's going on with La Casa de Papel.
Someone asked me why I haven't been getting quotes from my parents lately, and my parents just aren't as funny as the Limbs are, unfortunately. So maybe I'll find something funny.
Well, we also, like, my family and I just there's only four of us, right? So it's me, my sister, my mom, and my dad. And so we just like, and I don't know how this started, but it's probably with my sister. My sister just starts roasting all of us. So then we had to quickly learn how to roast each other back. And so now my whole family is just full of zingy one-liners and
yeah,
quotes.
And I'm one of 6 kids. So my parents have 6 kids. There's 2 grandchildren, including a brand new grandchild. And
there's 4.
We just don't have, well, I guess technically there's 4. But yeah, we just don't have the same social dynamic or communication style. I mean, when there's only 4 of you, it's a lot less people to speak to. But yeah, maybe they say something funny, I'll bring it up here on the show. Oh, I don't even know if they watched the show.
Pam and Albert are cracking me up. They're always like, when's the episode going to be released? And I think it's not because they actually like are interested in our content. I think they just want to know what quote I use for the shit my parents say.
Yeah, at least they give us approval. So thank you very much, as always, every week, Mr. and Mrs. Lim. All right, what else are we eating? Let's go into something else.
Okay, hold on. This is tasty, though. I really like that spare rib.
The spare rib was interesting because normally all the ribs are like all by themselves, but all those seem to like be attached. They really gave us like the entire. It wasn't a spare rib. It was like the entire set of ribs.
It was just rib.
Those ribs, are they even ribs?
Yeah, I think they're spare ribs. I actually don't know what spare ribs are.
Yeah, we should find out what those are.
Okay, this is what I was alluding to earlier.
Oh, and what else did she get? I gotta stop.
More shrimp!
We're getting to the point where maybe I need to be ordering the food because Amanda's just ordering shrimp.
I was going to say something really funny, and I'm not going to say it because it's not nice.
Because it's not funny.
And it's not nice. But what I like about this is that it comes with Chinese mayo, Japanese mayo, something mayo. And it's not like a mayo, like traditional mayo. It's like a sweet mayo, and it goes really well with these wontons.
There's definitely a shrimp tail right there. Downside of taking so long to eat this food is starting to get a little cold. But this is why we eat it in the parking lot.
Yeah.
So at least we don't drive it home.
Well, one day we'll have a guest, and that guest can help us eat.
Yes, when we're all vaccinated. Speaking of vaccinations, I wanted to bring up a point on the show that some of we opened the new window of people who are eligible to get the vaccine, which includes eventually it's going to be 16-year-olds. You have to be at least 18 with 2 underlying conditions, and a bunch of essential workers were also on the list, including teachers, which is great. I love that. But the fact that restaurants and people who work in restaurants weren't included on this list, I think, is absolutely terrible. Because the reason, like we started the show, the reason I've tried to be as big of an advocate as I can here on Find Me in Seattle with local businesses is because local businesses have gotten the shaft this year. Like, made it nearly impossible for them to operate. All of the restrictions, the up and downs, the changes, the unreliability, right? Having to close down, saying they can open up, and then closing down again, figuring out how to make all these outdoor spaces. So for the last year, we have seen that restaurants have been put on these stipulations because of the danger, right? The perceived danger of spreading the virus. So now we get to this point where it's time to vaccinate those important people. But how come they aren't on the list?
Yeah.
So we went a year saying those places need to shut down because of their danger, but now we're not going to prioritize them to get vaccinated because it's not dangerous anymore. I just think it's messed up, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's really unfair. Local restaurants and local businesses are like a foundation of the economy and our society and our culture, and I think they got robbed on this. So I want to put this out here because I think these are the things that need to be spoken up about, because that group of individuals who work at restaurants deserves to be prioritized a little bit more on getting vaccinated, because that is kind of a major part of opening back up, is making it safe to go out in some of those crowded places.
Yeah, and I think that they've done a lot to serve the community by helping provide takeout and comply with the rules. And listen, I'm here for everyone to be vaccinated, but if we're trying to talk about order of operations, I definitely think restaurant employees need to be vaccinated.
Yeah. So I figured I'd put it out there because the more gets said, hopefully that makes a difference in decisions moving forward. And then one more quote I had here is from Eddie Huang, who now is a big entrepreneur. He wrote Fresh Off the Boat, which turned into a show. He also has had a bunch of food shows. And he said in a podcast, he said, quote, "Restaurants are like museums. They distribute culture." And that's why I think it's so important to be, supporting restaurants. Like, all these locally owned mom and pop businesses right now, like, they are the soul of our entire city, right? This is where we go to congregate, to socialize, to hang out. Food is what represents us as a city, really, to anyone who's traveling here. How when people come and leave, the food is always a cornerstone of how they're going to remember the city. And so I think it's just important that you keep supporting all those businesses. You, if you have the means to be dining out, you're going and supporting as many local businesses as you can. You're not just always going to McDonald's or going to all the chain restaurants. And if you can, I would also say go and pick up the food. Don't use one of the delivery apps if you don't have to, if you have the means to do that. And just continue supporting them, because it's going to be a long road to recovery, and I mean we've lost a lot in this year.
And tip, don't forget to tip, right? It's so important. We just watched this TikTok video of this person who was just crying in their car because they got tipped $1, $2 off of a major order that they waited 30 to 45 minutes for, had to pay $3 out of their pocket to find parking. Right? So, like, if you are, please make sure that you tip these workers, because, you know, at this point, we're just trying to, if you can, at this point, we're just trying to spread the love. And so,
if you can afford to pay the delivery fees to have your food delivered, you should have the money to tip.
Yeah. And I think Seattle does an okay job. Listen, I'm not an expert, but I think there are Seattle-specific mandatory fees that got implemented to ensure that workers are getting compensated in such way. But I think we should be doing, if you can, as much as possible.
Yes.
Real quick, hey, you want steam bun?
That like fits all. Those are tiny.
These are little baby buns. Oh. Ooh,
Is there hair on that? I hope it's mine.
This?
Not yours.
No, this is like a little, like from a steam bun.
All right. We got steam buns. And I think it's time for all of you who've been watching the entire show. At the end of the show, Amanda always gives us a fun fact. Did you prepare yourself with a fun fact?
I'm learning a lot, and I would like to share this knowledge. And this is one that I just was like smacking Connor because I was so excited about it. Fun fact. Fun fact. And I did not know this. I just discovered this as off of Reddit, not TikTok. We're switching things up. I found this off of Reddit that if you go to bed with wet hair, you are giving yourself, you're more likely to develop dandruff than if you dry your hair. So if you have, or if you're more likely, or if you are suffering from dandruff right now, don't go to bed with wet hair. Make sure you dry it.
Not really the topic I want to talk about while eating food that's, white and crispy, but
has nothing to do with it. Spread the news. This is important. Hair care is important.
Cheers. These are pretty good. I really like these steam buns. If you go to Top Gun, definitely get these. I think these are some of the best that we've had. All right. We've been talking forever. Is there anything else you want to say? My fun fact is now here in Seattle, sunsets happening after 6 p.m. We did it, y'all. We made it through the most terrible 2, 3, 6 months of the year.
The dark season. And now we're getting into the light season, which is just wonderful. So no more 5 p.m. sunsets, which are great. Also, the sunrise is going to get early and earlier, which is absolutely wonderful. Best time of the year. Well, cheers, everyone. Thank you to Top Gun in Bellevue. Thank you to my lovely wife, Amanda. Thank you to all of you. Please like, subscribe, share, ask us questions. If you have a question for us, we'll happily do a question and answer segment here in the show. If any of you guys slide into those DMs or post it on the YouTube comments, we'd love to hear from you. Thank you very much to everyone for your support, and good luck. Have a great day.